Hello everyone and welcome back to F1 22 for another episode of my F1 22 my team journey. Yeah, that. Anyway, so here we are then at the Red Bull Ring, and apologies for this video both being so long and taking so long, but this round features sprint qualifying, so we have an entire extra race to do, which was one of the reasons, the other being the game crashed halfway through recording the Grand Prix itself, and yeah, that sort of pushed everything back by a day, so that's fun. And yeah, so a lot of video to edit and a lot of racing to do going into this one, but regardless, we're doing the Pirelli Hot Lap Challenge at the moment. It's a time attack challenge, so we have to do 2 laps of the Red Bull Ring in a specific amount of time. And this one was really hard, and I actually wasn't able to get the top possible prize for this one, I think for the first time. So yeah, it was a bit of a tough one, but we still get a bit of money and acclaim for our troubles as we round the final corner, and now heading along to the finish line. But yeah, that was a bit of a rough start to the weekend, and I'm a little bit worried about cash at the moment because we do need to re-sign our teammate Oscar Piastri at the end of this weekend, so really could have done with every every credit we can basically, but anyway, we head into the race weekend itself, and we will see how we go in qualifying on a Friday. So we've only had one practice session, which we've tried to make the most of, and got a lot of the practice programs done in that. But anyway, there is the R&D chart. You can see we make a few gains on the rest of the field, but still a fair way off really. So yeah, we have a lot of work to do in this round if we want to even get into Q2 or off the back row of the grid at all. Would be a miracle. So we'll see how it goes. Last time out, we were very, very close with our teammate for the back row of the grid, that is. Didn't really have a chance of chasing down the rest of the field due to all the qualifying issues that weekend, but this time we do get a couple of clean laps in, and we actually do at the moment have some positions over a non-Southern Cross car, and those being the 2 Canadians of Lance Stroll and Nicholas Latifi, and we beat both of them in qualifying. Oscar Piastri last on the grid though, so he's not finding the same pace we are. That said, the Red Bull Ring has been a very strong track for me in the past. I've always been able to just extract a little bit more out of the car here than any other circuit. I don't know what it is, but I've just clicked with it so much better than anywhere else. Mick Schumacher and Alex Albon knocked out as well. We are out qualified by our rival Sebastian Vettel, so that's not ideal. We'll have to wait till the sprint race to see where he has actually qualified, but we have a quick upgrade to the over-wheel winglets, and we now head into sprint qualifying. We also have a new livery as always. You'll see that as the weekend goes on.
Welcome to today's sprint. This is shaping up to be another fantastic weekend. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Perez, George Russell, and Hamilton, Norris, Ricciardo, Fernando Alonso, and Valtteri Bottas, Ocon, Magnussen, Yuki Tsunoda and Vettel, Gasly, Joe, Mick Schumacher and Alex Albon, the scientist, Latifi, Stroll, and Oscar Piastri. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
Alrighty then, so here we are on the grid. No strategy to talk about, so we go straight to the 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go for the sprint race here at the Red Bull Ring. And it's an okay start for us, could be a little better, but we can work with this as we head down towards the first corner, braking nice and early. We'll actually take to the outside off circuit to make sure we don't rear end anybody there, and that caution pays off for us as we now head up towards turn 2 and 3. We'll head to the outside. It'll become the inside as we're almost off circuit there, and they're going 3 wide in front of us. We're not going to get involved in that battle pack. We almost squeeze Albon off the circuit there in the braking zone though, as we came swooping back across to the outside line of turn 3. Albon now coming back at us as we run side by side along towards turn 4, down the inside of Alexander Albon, and we'll make that move, and that will lift us to 18th position, so 1 place gained off the start, but we are still under fire as we're just struggling to get into a rhythm in the early phase of this one, but that should come very soon. It's only lap 1.
Just focus on the driving.
And now the fighting behind has begun. We have a look at a replay of the start then at the front of the grid. Red Bull versus Ferrari on the first 2 rows, and for the Ferraris a fantastic start for both of them. Perez a good start too. Verstappen was the one who really struggled. Perez round the outside of Verstappen as Sainz takes 2nd position, so brilliant start by the Spaniard. And now Sergio Perez trying to go wheel to wheel with his teammate, and they're all fanning out as they run up towards turn 3. They're almost considering going 3 wide. Sainz with a little too much momentum with the Red Bulls to keep up. The Mercedes battling side by side as well as the McLarens side by side. Teammates dueling everywhere here as they now Max Verstappen manages to ease ahead of his teammate, and the Dutchman moves himself into a 3rd position, but still dropping 1 place from the start. Sergio Perez sits 4th, but it's Charles Leclerc who leads against Carlos Sainz in 2nd position. Max Verstappen really starting to put the pressure on though as the laps continue on, and he goes down the inside into the 2nd last corner, and Max Verstappen takes 2nd position. So nicely done there by the Dutchman, and he can now push on and chase after Charles Leclerc and try to go for home glory for the team as we continue on. That is Pierre Gasly with a mechanical failure, and
nothing too serious at the moment, just be careful.
Oh, we've got some damage from earlier in the race as Gasly was retiring there. I'm guessing that was just from a curb somewhere along the line. Not exactly sure, but anyway.
Okay, the underbody's taken some damage. You might start to notice it soon. The rear diffuser's incurred some damage. You might start to feel the effects. No tyre concerns at the moment. Just focus on the driving.
So it sounds like nothing is critically damaged, but the diffuser and under tray of the car will not be optimal. Meanwhile, more Ferrari versus Red Bull battles towards the front of the field. This is Sergio Perez trying to pass Carlos Sainz now. So and one of the Mercedes cars getting involved as well. So Perez turning to defense now turning his defense into attack down the inside of Carlos Sainz, and he might force his way through here, and he will. Nicely done, Sergio Perez. He fends off the Mercedes and also grabs Carlos Sainz in the process. They're still running side by side, but I think Perez will be able to get the job done. Down the inside, Sainz still fighting away, but eventually he has to give up around the outside of turn 4. Can't hold it through there. Sergio Perez moves himself up into 3rd position. So the Red Bulls with the pace in the race, maybe not so much in qualifying, but we continue to race on, and we are having a good old scrap here, and we can't quite remain ahead of Lance Stroll. He takes a position from us, so hopefully he'll be able to chase down his teammate Sebastian Vettel. As I may have mentioned, he is our rival, so Vettel is our rival, so we need to make sure we beat him in the Grand Prix itself. As we continue on though, we re-overtake Lance Stroll with the help of DRS.
Nice overtake.
And yeah, we are starting to get into a nicer rhythm around this circuit, so maybe we can catch up to Sebastian Vettel on our own. as we continue to look forwards. It's now the Mercedes cars fighting away side by side, and all sorts of battles are going on up and down the field. Now the McLarens getting involved as well, so absolute chaos here. Look at this, side by side, 2 by 2 through turn 1, and looks like the Mercedes will just about hold on, but I think it's George Russell there really seeming to struggle in this one, and yeah, is under fire from the midfield cars. So yeah, very strange there for George Russell, and he's actually lost that position now, so he's going to need to fight back here. Can he make the move to the inside? He's not close enough, and yeah, he's legitimately just been overtaken by McLaren. He's under fire from the other one too, so George Russell really struggling here, and the Mercedes driver is losing so much pace through these corners. He must have some damage because that is not normal for George Russell, and now he's got a huge train behind him. Look at that, he's actually pulling off the racing line here, and George Russell has a more significant issue, I think. The whole field going by, and George Russell now pulling into pit lane. So the British driver in the Mercedes having to pull off, and he is now in the pit lane. Oh, he's got a puncture on the front right, so that explains that. And George Russell having to make an unscheduled stop. No pit stops required in the sprint race, of course, and George Russell has to bring it into the lane and get that or get all 4 wheels changed, but the front right being the problematic one. He also has a front wing change as well, so it's a slow stop, and he gets going once again. But that's an unfortunate little sequence of events for George Russell. We once again drop behind Lance Stroll as Russell makes that pit stop, and we now go to the outside of Lance Stroll. Can we make the move here? We'll just about squeeze through. Stroll hopping over the inside curbs there, and
16. We got P16.
Yeah, it's very tight through that first corner going side by side, because there's sausage curbs on the inside and the outside that will ruin the car if you touch them. So yeah, it's very important to give ample room to allow the other car to not run over those. But anyway, we're starting to close up to Sebastian Vettel. He's been scrapping away with his fellow German Mick Schumacher right in front of him. So this is bringing us into the fight, and Mick Schumacher not giving easy passage to Sebastian Vettel. The Aston Martin goes down the inside. We'll see if we can make the move alongside Sebastian Vettel. Now he's almost squeezing us onto the grass as we're 3 wide there, and now Schumacher lifts out of the fight as we go down the inside of Vettel. A bit deep though, maybe a little bump on the way through, but we get ahead of the pair of them, and we leave them scrapping away behind us as we take the position and move ourselves ahead 2 places at once. And I was hoping Schumacher could put himself between myself and Vettel to you know, increase the gap, but unfortunately that was not the case. And Bottas with a mechanical failure, but whacks into the back of one of the Alpines there. So bizarre little moment there. Not sure what that was about, but here it is on a replay, and he pulls off the racing line and then just can't get the momentum off. And yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe all the smoke out the back of the car, he was spilling oil on the tyres, I'm not sure. But this is on board with Fernando Alonso, and whack. Be lucky for Alonso if he doesn't get diffuser damage from that. But Bottas adding to the repair bill at Alfa Romeo there. They already need a new engine, now they need a new front wing as well. But that little incident brought out the safety car, and Charles Leclerc is first in the queue. So we will join the queue ourselves eventually in now 13th position. So we've come up a really long way in this race, it's got to be said, through the various events that have played out in this one. We're still a fair way away from the points, only the top 8 scoring points in F1 sprint races, but it is a consideration given how this race is going. Anyway, the safety car accelerates away from the field, and Charles Leclerc takes control with Max Verstappen with plenty of pace right behind him, so it's going to be an interesting fight between those two for the rest of the race. Meanwhile, we get racing once again, and our next target ahead of us is Zhou Guanyu, so we'll see if we can make a move on him somewhere in the near future. We go a bit deep outside of turn 1. We rattle over that curb. Thankfully no damage done. We've already got damage to the floor, so we don't need to be making that any worse. We get away with it on that occasion as we go very late on the brakes down the inside of Zhou, and that was a really aggressive move, and to be completely honest, not entirely intentional. But this is Sebastian Vettel making a bit of contact with us. I didn't even notice that at the time. I mean, I felt the clunk, but I actually thought that was a bit of contact with Zhou, given the aggression we had in that move. But here is exactly what happened. Vettel looked down the inside, but then he lifted out and then went for a big lunge at the last moment as we were making that late move on Zhou, avoiding rear-ending the Alfa Romeo. We had to go right. Because there's a wall on the left, so we didn't really have anywhere else to go. Vettel, I guess in the same situation, also had to go right, and eventually we all arrived at the corner at the same time. Here's the onboard with Albon, and yeah, that was just a bit of awkward contact, knocking the front wing off the Aston Martin car, and Sebastian Vettel will need to be heading to the pit lane shortly, so that's unfortunate for Vettel, and he will likely finish down in last in this race now. So yeah, we'll have one more look on board with Vettel, and yeah, he just lifted out of it and then went for the dive. If he committed to it earlier, he might have been able to make it stick, but yeah, it wasn't ever really going to work the way he did that. But anyway, meanwhile, up the road, the McLarens continue to fight away. They've lost sight of the Mercedes cars by now, but still fighting amongst themselves, and well, they're holding up a whole gaggle of cars. The Haas of Kevin Magnussen in there, along with the Alpines, and basically the whole field is in this little fight. Everyone's coming to join the party as we see if we can make the move down the inside of Esteban Ocon. Kevin Magnussen going for the double move, going to get Fernando Alonso as well. Fantastic, absolutely brilliant move by Kevin Magnussen. 2 for the price of 1, and we'll see if we can join him up into the top 10 actually, as we go around the outside of Fernando Alonso, and we made our way into the top 10. So this has been a very successful race for us. This is not what I expected, but just everyone fighting away, and a few cars getting damaged, and the other things that have played out in this race have really fallen into our favour. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen has his eye on the race lead. Charles Leclerc is not going to give it to him too easily though. Max Verstappen down the inside into turn 3. Leclerc still trying to keep the fight going around the outside, but on the exit curb can't get the traction down, and Max Verstappen takes the race lead here at the Red Bull Ring. Can Charles Leclerc fight back? It doesn't look like it. Max Verstappen through into the race lead here for the sprint race at the Red Bull Ring. Let's see if he can hold on to it throughout the rest of the race. Meanwhile, we still have plenty of scrapping away in front of us at the moment. We have Yuki Tsunoda and Kevin Magnussen going at it, and can we make the move here? We don't really have the space now. We can go for it down the inside, late on the brakes, a little too late I think there. Made a bit of contact with Kevin Magnussen, but I think we just about get away with it. We covered the inside, didn't really need to do that, and that allowed the Alpine there to get through Fernando Alonso. So we'll have to re-overtake him down the inside into turn 9. We're being very aggressive with these moves as Kevin Magnussen heads into the pit lane, so I think we may have damaged his front wing in that little scrap, so that's unfortunate for Kevin Magnussen, but we're still doing our best to fend off the attacks of everyone behind us. We've got George Russell behind us now, who's really come back in this race. I mentioned he needed a safety car, and he got that safety car and has been charging through the field, so he's got to us. We'll see if he gets any further. We've completely lost sight of Yuki Tsunoda, and well, he's not really our main focus at the moment. If we can hold off George Russell, this will be a fantastic result for us. It won't quite be points, but it's pretty close. If anyone has an issue in front of us, it will be points. We're currently in 9th position, so just one position away. Anyway, we make the move on George Russell once again. He got past us through turn 1, but we are banging wheels all the way along the straight, now down the inside of turn 2, and a little bit deep there. George Russell is not the one who gets the switchback, it's Fernando Alonso, and Alonso gets through, so scrapping all over the place here, on board now with Russell. He's too far back to do anything, so we're going to go for the move down the inside of Alonso once again, being super aggressive, and we'll once again get back ahead of Fernando Alonso, and we're really fighting hard to hold on to this position, because a great starting position at the Red Bull Ring, combined with the rhythm I can get around this circuit on the right day, could spell points come the end of the Grand Prix. So that's really what I'm fighting for here. It doesn't matter if we damage the car a little bit, we can fix it up before the race.
Information on Ricciardo. They've got some kind of mechanical problem.
So we can afford to be aggressive. Daniel Ricciardo with a mechanical problem, not as critical as the one Sebastian Vettel had in the British Grand Prix. So Ricciardo still running around at a decent pace, and I don't think he'll be needing to make a pit stop, but he was actually having a really good race up until this point. Was ahead of Lando Norris, but I think he may drop back after that. But anyway, we're still trying to fend off George Russell, and now the two Alpines going either side, trying to take advantage of the situation. George Russell getting swarmed here by the French team, and they've still got one on either side. Unfortunately, the attack fails, and George Russell manages to, well, he holds one of them off. Fernando Alonso working the magic and getting through in the end, but having them fighting so hard behind us, every time that happens, it just gives us that little bit of breathing space we need to hold off the lot of them for a bit longer. If it was a one-on-one duel, I don't know if we'd have a chance, but every time we fight with someone and come out on top, they end up squabbling with the cars behind. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen wins the sprint race here at the Red Bull Ring. Nicely done. Charles Leclerc in 2nd position, not too far behind, so the pair of them very close on pace here. But we come now around the final corner. It's not going to be points, but it's P9 and a 5th row of the grid come the Grand Prix itself.
Take care of the car on the way in.
So I can't be too disappointed with that. We had to be very aggressive without offense, to be fair, but we got the job done in the end.
So let's review the drivers' standings. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. Let's move on to the constructors. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. The grid is set then, so that just leaves the race itself. Join us tomorrow where we'll be live with all the action. And until then, goodbye.
Well, that brings an end to the first sprint race of the season here at the Red Bull Ring. Max Verstappen taking race victory ahead of Leclerc, Perez, Hamilton, ahead of Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo, Yuki Tsunoda, rounding out the point scorers in the sprint race. We don't get highlights, unfortunately, so we just move straight on to the race itself.
This is it then, race day in Spielberg for this year's Austrian Grand Prix. Not long to go before our drivers hurtle off the line and into the first turn, the Niki Lauda curve. It was renamed in 2019 in memory of one of Formula One's most beloved figures. It's one of the shortest laps on the calendar today then, with 7 rights and just 3 lefts, making up the 10 corners of this high-speed circuit. Turn 2 is barely a corner at all. They'll be flat out through there, a left-hand kink into the uphill braking zone of Turn 3. Turns 1, 3 and 4 are all potential opportunities to overtake. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Hamilton, Carlos Sainz and Norris, Ricciardo, Tsunoda, the scientist, and Fernando ALONSO. Russell, Joe, Esteban Ocon and Albon. Mick Schumacher, Latifi, Lance Stroll and Sebastian VETTEL. Oscar Piastri, Magnussen. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. BOTTAS and Pierre GASLY picks up the final grid slot. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And alongside me once again for coverage of today's race is none other than the great Anthony Davidson. We should talk about Williams. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
I will not let you down. Strategy will be 3 sets of softs to mediums. There'll be some rain at the end of the race, so we may not even touch those medium tyres. We'll see how it goes as we go to the 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the main event, the Austrian Grand Prix. Great start for Yuki Tsunoda. Brilliant launch off the line. Ours was half decent as we try and make some space around the outside for ourselves. We don't really find too much out there. And we now drop in to 9th position where we started. We'll see if we can make the move now down the inside, looking for the opportunities, but nothing really presents itself. We just have to fend off the attacks from behind. George Russell, of course, will be trying to make his way through in this race. And we get through the opening couple of corners unscathed, no damage to the car. And that is the first box ticked. Let's see if we can potentially keep up with Tsunoda. I think that may actually be a good idea in this race if we can just tag along with Tsunoda. He had great pace in the sprint race, so if we can just hook along behind him.
We've held position on lap 1. That's not great, but it's not terrible. Stay focused.
In the DRS, that may be a good opportunity for us to run a great pace throughout this one. Replay the start then at the front of the field. Charles Leclerc with another brilliant start, trying to take first place from Max Verstappen. Doesn't get the job done though, and the Dutchman maintains the lead as Leclerc's right under the rear wing of the Red Bull though, as they head now through turn 2 into the braking zone of 3. Verstappen hard on the defence. Leclerc around the outside. Perez looking hungry as well as Sainz and Hamilton battle away behind, but it's Leclerc who comes out on top, and the Monegasque driver retakes the lead after he lost it in the sprint race. He's got it back now, but the 2 Red Bulls are right behind him, so it will not be an easy time for the Ferrari man, but for now he's done the job. We now go on board with Pierre Gasly, and he's gone for the big lunge down the inside, and a bit of awkward contact there with our teammates, so thanks for that, Pierre. Now on board with Sebastian Vettel, who's gone for the big lunge down the inside and made a bit of contact with his teammate Lance Stroll. So Sebastian Vettel, a clumsy moment there, and that's actually brought Vettel into the pit lane. That's a shame for him. Alex Albon in the pits as well. Not exactly sure why. I didn't see that incident, but Sebastian Vettel throwing the race away on the first lap, and he's given himself a lot of work to do in this one, so that's a shame for him. George Russell gets through, we let him go.
Focus. We need to stay on form.
At turn 9, and he's going to now chase down Yuki Tsunoda. George Russell down the inside, and he should... Oh, a bit of a moment there as they made some very awkward contact through the first corner. Russell carrying too much speed and not able to get the move done, so he goes again down the inside, and once again coming together with Tsunoda. Just a slight bit of side-to-side contact, and once again destabilizes the Mercedes driver as we're now getting involved in the fight. But Yuki Tsunoda is doing a brilliant job, it's got to be said, as we go around the outside of Russell and we retake the position, move ourselves back ahead of George Russell. So he's had so much trouble passing Tsunoda, who's done a fantastic job to hold him off, that we've managed to take that place back. We go a touch deep though into turn 4, and Russell will re-overtake us there. And again, I'm not too fussed about that. Our fight is not with Russell. He's always going to finish ahead of us. We can't hold him off for 70 laps.
Strategy available on the MFD.
So yeah, we need to just pick our battles. But Tsunoda is not doing so. He's still scrapping away with George Russell, and I'm not even going to get involved this time. I'm just going to watch along and just wait and see what happens. Russell does eventually get through, but that took him many more laps than what he would have liked. And we're now potentially looking for the move. Tsunoda back around the outside, though we can't quite get to the inside, and Russell will hold on. But yeah, Tsunoda almost having a look at Russell there, but finally I think George has got the move done, and that is the end of that battle. We move on then to lap 14. It's time for our first pit stop. We follow Yuki Tsunoda into the pit lane, so I assume we're running virtually the same strategy in this one as we hit the limiter line, and now into the box we will get a new set of soft compound tyres on.
Attaching the right front wheel. We need to try and put that behind us though and finish the race strong.
Another pit lane issue, just like we had in Baku. The right front tyre, they could not just get it lined up onto its housing properly, and that wheel taking a little longer than the others holds us up in the pit lane for a bit, and we only just come out in front of Fernando Alonso. Goodness me, that was close, but thankfully we've maintained that position. But we've got a lot of hard work to do if we want to get back into the DRS range of Yuki Tsunoda. We have to really lean on these tyres and push hard.
Okay, that's Tsunoda just ahead.
So we'll continue to do so, and thankfully a bit of traffic will help us out with that, as
coming in for his stop now.
Tsunoda goes for the double move down the inside, and I think he's going to get that done actually. So nicely orchestrated there by the Japanese driver, and we will have to do some overtaking ourselves down the inside of Lando Norris, and we get that move done. So that is Lando Norris. Little look down the inside once again. We'll try and carry the speed around the outside here. It's not a conventional place to be battling away, but thankfully we do manage to get through. Now we're tucked in behind Zhou Guanyu, the Chinese driver. We'll have a look to the outside. The little runoff there we're using turns to grass, but we're able to continue running side by side with Zhou, and we have to lift out of it, running wide there. We'll see if we can get the move done along the main straight. Zhou giving us the big old squeeze towards the pit wall, but we'll have to push him back and into turn one. We'll make the move very neatly there and get ahead of Zhou Guanyu, and that is a job done. We now go on board with Valtteri BOTTAS, and he is recovering from that little incident he had in the sprint race, and trying an alternative strategy in this one. He's on the medium tyres at the moment. That was Tsunoda making the move on him just there, and now it's our turn to have a go at the Finnish driver. The Chinese driver is his teammate. Anyway, we go down the inside of Valtteri BOTTAS, and that is a job done, and we'll move ourselves ahead of him, and that is both Alfa Romeos now behind us, and well, that's an issue there for Alex Albon. I was about to say we can go chasing after Tsunoda once again, but Albon out of the race. A lot of smoke coming out of that Williams car, so I'd suggest that is a major engine failure.
Okay, expect to see some rain about 10 to 15 minutes from now.
And there's an update on the weather.
Okay, we're approaching the pit window. You're going to be on softs.
Rain coming soon, and our pit stop coming far sooner. So we're going to make our pit stop early. Tsunoda does too, actually. So maybe we are thinking alike. We'll pit early and get the maximum amount of usage from this next set of soft tyres that we can, and then switch to the inters once the rain comes. So into the box we go once again.
There seems to have been a bit of a problem removing the left front wheel. We need to try and put that behind us though and finish the race strong.
Another pit lane issue. Far out. The left front this time. Top right of screen. They couldn't get it off this time. This is ridiculous. trying to stay within DRS of Tsunoda so he can just pull us along around the circuit. But
you're in the dirty air of the car in front. Let's get past them.
it's very difficult when we keep losing a second or two every pit stop. Anyways, Schumacher has a bit of a moment through the first corner, and we make the move on him.
No tyre concerns at the moment. Just focus on the driving.
Nice and easy there. As we go on board with Sebastian Vettel, he's making a front wing change. This is just after the round of pit stops, so this is very much unscheduled for Sebastian Vettel. So he's obviously had a coming together with someone in this race. We'll see now exactly what happened. He's on the brakes, so I think he's letting one of the Ferraris past in with the blue flags. It was Carlos Sainz, and just tags the back of the Ferrari in the braking zone. So basically what Bottas did in the sprint race when he had that mechanical failure, Vettel doing more or less the same thing at that corner. So that's a weird moment there for Vettel, and his bad day gets even worse. We're stuck behind Joe once again. We will race him down towards the first corner, see if we can make the move around the outside, and a little bit off circuit, getting a bit wayward on the exit, but we get the move done on Zhou Guanyu.
Car ahead's beginning to pull away. You know what to do.
And once again, we go chasing after Tsunoda. He's actually on the medium tyres. I've been meaning to say that, but yeah, Tsunoda on the medium, so I think we can potentially go faster now if we just get past him. I think he's starting to just hold us up a little bit if we try to run at his pace. So we'll make the move around the outside, nice and clean there.
Good job.
And we now move ourselves up that position as we put a lap on Sebastian Vettel, and that shows how badly his race is going. What a shame for him. It's just not been his day at all as we go on board. And he's done it again. Made a bit of contact with Yuki Tsunoda, and that's another new front wing for Sebastian Vettel. My goodness, this day just could not get worse for the German. He cannot catch a break, can he? Just losing it a little bit there in the braking zone, and making that contact. My goodness. As we continue on though, bit of a mistake through turn 4. Tsunoda gets back through and we drop that position. So yeah, this fight going to continue on for a while. Meanwhile, there's a mega scrap going on here between Lando Norris and Valtteri Bottas, with Fernando Alonso getting involved as well. Lando Norris trying to get the move done. Kevin Magnussen looking racy there in the background too. Norris now down the inside of Valtteri Bottas, and Alonso as well. 3 wide into turn 3. Bottas is the one that holds on though ahead of Lando Norris. Great defense there on the outside line for Valtteri Bottas, and he maintains the position ahead of Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso, with Kevin Magnussen in pursuit as well as Yuki Tsunoda and then myself. We're all fighting away here. It's a train of 6 cars, 6 drivers from 6 different teams, 6 different countries represented as well. There is so much variety in this battle pack, but at the moment it is Valtteri Bottas, the Finn, who leads the way in the Alfa Romeo, followed by an Englishman in a McLaren, followed by a Spaniard in an Alpine. But we will cut off the roll call there because of Lando Norris going for the move once again and down the inside of Valtteri Bottas. But he again can't get the move done, as now more fighting is going on behind. It's Bottas versus Norris. It's Alonso versus Magnussen. It's us versus Yuki Tsunoda. We get the move done on Tsunoda, and now we're going to make it 3 wide with Alonso and Magnussen as Bottas and Norris continue to duke it out. Norris gets ahead as Alonso is going to be in an awkward position here. He locks up, goes very deep as we swing through to the inside and get a bunch of overtakes in there, and we've moved ourselves up second in the battle pack, as now Bottas is still managing to hold off many of these cars. Alonso to the outside, Magnussen in pursuit, as Alonso still can't get the move done. Bottas has brilliant defense there, and he is really doing us a favor and holding off this whole pack of very quick cars, and just making sure they're nowhere near us, really. We're chasing down Lando Norris now. Tsunoda, who we were fighting away with before this, is at the back of this train. There's one of the Red Bull cars coming up to put a lap on us soon. But Bottas, after all that hard work, actually goes into the pit lane at the end of that lap. So a bit of a strange choice there, but nonetheless, it's caused plenty of chaos, and now the fighting continues between Alonso, Magnussen and Tsunoda, as Alonso struggling on the exit of turn 1 and Magnussen with a nice run, although Tsunoda's very close as well. So we'll see how this turns out as they all run up towards turn 3. Magnussen to the outside, Alonso hard defense there, and we'll see who comes out on top. It's Kevin Magnussen with a good drive traction on the outside. I think he'll have DRS as well, but it's Magnussen in the lead of the pack now, as Tsunoda's got a nice run. He can't quite do anything with it as Tsunoda does the defensive wave, and they remain in those positions. Magnussen ahead of Alonso and Tsunoda, but brilliant battling between all involved in that phase of the race. But now the race is about to get turned on its head because the rain has started falling, and we just need to wait for the crossover point. It's not far away. We're currently on lap 42, heading on lap 43, so we're going on board with Charles Leclerc now, as he goes for the move around the outside of Yuki Tsunoda, banging wheels, and the end plate coming off Tsunoda's car there, and potentially damaged for Charles Leclerc as well. So another lap car incident here, and just an awkward little bump. Not sure there's really much more Tsunoda could have done there. He was, turning right through the corner, but yeah, Charles Leclerc, a new front wing, and as well a new front wing for Yuki Tsunoda. So disaster for those two, and they will find themselves both tumbling down the order. Shame, because Yuki Tsunoda was running quite a strong race up until this point. But anyway, it's time to switch now onto the intermediate tyres. The only good thing about the timing of those incidents was that they could put the intermediate tyres on in those pit stops, which will be good for them. Oh, another pit stop issue. The front left wheel again. They're struggling to get that one off. So that's another major blow to this race. But thankfully we get away with it. We weren't really terribly close to anyone, as Max Verstappen overtakes us and then has a moment on the exit of turn 1. So we're fighting to stay on the lead lap here. But of course, with the blue flags, we're inevitably going to lose that fight. Max Verstappen moves himself up, or not moves himself ahead of us, but obviously he's already in the race lead. That is Mick Schumacher now, after all the hard work he's done in this race. Mechanical failure as soon as the rain starts falling. The Ferrari engine, the Haas, gives up, and Schumacher pulls off the road. Shame for him, as we continue to push on though. I'm actually finding some relatively decent pace in the rain this time.
Look like they're shifting. We're predicting at least 20 minutes of heavy rainfall. Inters seem to be the fastest tyre for now.
Unlike in Azerbaijan, there's all sorts of chaos going on here. My goodness, there's cars strewn all over the road. What happened there? Everyone's gone crazy. We're on board with Lando Norris. It's Oscar Piastri who's sideways across the road there. No contact though, so I don't know what caused that. As we have a look at a replay, Oscar Piastri 360 there, and doesn't get going again. Just rolls back onto the racing line, and just can't get that car moving again. So he does roll forwards to get the car somewhat out of the way, but I don't know if there's something wrong with the gearbox or what it is. But Oscar Piastri just starting with a spin there, spinning 270 degrees, and yeah, not able to get the car rescued from the racing line. So yeah, he actually in the end got disqualified for parking in a dangerous location. But at this point in the race, it's actually time to switch onto the full wet tyres. We've dropped the lead lap, we're onto safety car, and I'm thinking we have an opportunity here to get our lap back. If we put the full wet tyres on last, wait for everyone else to we will wait for everyone else to make their stops, and now we're the lead car behind their safety car, and because we're not the race leader, we can just go straight past. And now we're back on the lead lap. So that is great timing for us, and we will be able to put the full wet tyres on now. We'll do this lap at virtually full speed, because at this point of the safety car we don't need to stick to a delta. These tyres aren't great for these conditions, to be fair, so we're not going terribly fast, that said. But anyway, it's fast enough for us to now come in to the pit lane, and we'll be able to put a set of the full wet tyres on and come out back on circuit and still be ahead. So into the box we go. Hopefully we get a nice clean stop this time.
Okay, we had an issue removing the left rear wheel. I know it's not ideal, but let's try and put it behind us and finish the race strong.
Oh my goodness, another one. Top left of screen. I couldn't get the wheel off. And another pit stop issue. This is ridiculous. We've had an issue in every pit stop this race. Guys, get your act together. We've barely had any up until this point. That one in Azerbaijan, and I think that was it. And now we've had, what is that, 4 in one race? Onto the second softs, onto the third softs, onto the inters, and then onto the wets. But anyway, we're in P8 as we have a look at Nicholas Latifi, and he has got Esteban Ocon overtaking him. This is the race back underway now, because we weren't really part of the queue. Didn't really have a restart to show as such, as Max Verstappen goes through, and Esteban Ocon making contact with Max Verstappen on the inside of turn 3, and the Frenchman getting a little bit out of shape there, so I don't know what that was all about. Latifi lets pass one of the Ferrari cars as well, but here's the onboard with Ocon, and just slight contact with Verstappen, similar to what a lot of others have been doing when they've been getting lapped. But Ocon and Verstappen coming together with Ocon a lap down. That sounds a little familiar, doesn't it? Anyway, we continue to push on, and eventually Max Verstappen re-overtakes us. We had no real chance of holding him off. He's just got better pace, and it's as simple as that. So it's a shame, but anyway, we continue to fight on. That's Perez getting through. He's up into second place now as we're banging wheels with Charles Leclerc and trying to force him to the inside. Actually, I wasn't fully aware who we were fighting with there, because I knew Tsunoda had been catching us. We've also got a penalty at this point as well for ignoring blue flags. So yeah, that's a thing, but because we're a lap down, I know from the previous episode that penalty won't actually apply, so I'm not too concerned about that. But yeah, we're very aggressive with our defense on Leclerc there, because I wasn't fully aware of who was drawing alongside us. But here's the onboard, and you can see we just squeezed him a little too much, and unfortunately, regrettably, that actually damaged his front wing, and he's going to need to make a stop on what is, I think, the penultimate lap of the race. So it's a shame for Charles Leclerc, and he's going to lose a few places because of that. So that's unfortunate. He goes into the pit lane there as we round the final corner and begin what will be our final lap. We're on lap 69 going on to lap 70 now. We're a lap down, so lap 71 does not exist for us. And for now, I think we've done enough to hold on to our current position. We just went through the last real overtaking opportunity on the circuit with Yuki Tsunoda right behind us, but not really posing a major threat. He's sort of just been sitting at that range for a while, but without DRS, it's not really feasible for him to get past us. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen crosses the line to take victory here at the Red Bull Ring. Great drive for Max Verstappen, and that's another race victory for his season. We come towards the finish line, and it's going to be a points finish at the Austrian Grand Prix. We bring it home in 8th place, and I'm pretty happy with that drive. Luck went our way this weekend. Makes up for last time, that's for sure.
Red Bull pulling out all the stops today. What a great win. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today? Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently, and it's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be so proud of the victory they've secured here.
So it is Max Verstappen bringing home glory to the Red Bull team. Second place for Carlos Sainz, staying out of trouble and getting the job done. Lewis Hamilton finishes third for Mercedes.
So let's review the drivers' standings. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. Some amazing talent out on the track today. But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
That's got to be the Flying Finn. Wait, how many Flying Fins have we had now? Anyway, I'm talking about Bottas this time. Just great raw speed, and a good job in traffic as well.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport action. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Well, unfortunately, because there are no highlights on sprint race weekends for some reason, I don't have much time to talk here. So the one thing I do want to mention is that we did manage to find our way into the top 10 in the championship standings. So that is a nice little bonus for us at the back end of this weekend. In terms of our rivalry with Vettel, he had an absolutely atrocious day. So, I mean, it was a bit like Esteban Ocon in the Bahrain Grand Prix recently. It's just everything that could go wrong did go wrong for Seb. And yeah, it's just an unfortunate time. We thankfully ticked both of our sponsorship boxes, and that is much needed funding because, as I mentioned, we need to re-sign Piastri. And as we take a look in the top right, do we have enough to re-sign Piastri? Yes, we do, but only just. So that is good. I was a little worried, but anyway, we can now approach Piastri.
Here you can make an offer to your driver. The more you offer, the greater chance of them agreeing to it. Be careful not to insult drivers though. If you do, they might refuse to negotiate any more with you in this negotiation period.
So there we have it. We're going to go with the safest option, and we don't want to take any risks, and we do have the money for it. So yeah, we're going to go for it, and it should be almost certain that he re-signs with us. So we wait for his response, and we got him for the second half of the season. So that's one obstacle out the way in the mid-season. We still have the car development to deal with because we're still behind in that respect. So yeah, we need to work on that and hopefully get some more upgrades on the car soon. But anyway, as for the activity timeline, we will do the weight training to help Piastri's pace and focus. We will do the power equipment upgrade for a morale boost to the powertrain department, as well as a few resource points. We will do the sponsor advertisement vehicle for a team acclaim boost, as well as a bit of cash. So now we roll through the timeline then towards the next event. We get the MGU-H improved materials upgrade that failed on us a while ago. We then get a kind of weird department event. So an ex-Formula 1 driver has requested a tour of the durability department. It could be a nice morale boost for the team, but it could also be create a distraction rather ahead of their internal deadlines. What do you think? So what's weird though is that there doesn't actually seem to be any consequences. Whether we accept or decline, nothing comes up. So is this just inconsequential? I don't know. It's very strange. But anyway, we're going to accept. But that's a bit of a weird one.
Thanks for stepping in and helping handle that.
And so we roll through the last part of the timeline then and arrive at the French Grand Prix weekend. Goodness me. Made us to the end of the video finally. I don't know how many of these sprint races I'm going to do. They make these videos quite long, especially when they were quite action-packed like this one. And as well, I recorded a lot of replay cameras, as I'm sure you would have noticed, which definitely makes the videos a lot longer, but there was a lot of stuff I wanted to cover in this, I guess, that was happening. But yeah, it was a long one, especially, it's probably one of the longest Formula 1 game videos I've made in quite a while. But anyway, yeah, that is all for this one. Let's try and end this before we hit 55 minutes. So yeah, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. If you have made it to the end, you are a legend. But yeah, other than that, feel free to give me some feedback in the comments. It is always very helpful. And other than that, I will see you next time for the French Grand Prix. Goodbye.